Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. I am here with the one and only Danielle Anatra. Danielle, welcome back. I missed you last week. We had a 1 week dark, but I got you back. How you doing?
Well, hopefully it wasn't too dark. I'm doing great. I actually was at a retreat for work in Tennessee that I go to every year that I really, really enjoy. So we were there. I was like learning new things and having being around some people that I haven't seen in a really long time, all spiritual conversations. It was really awesome. So
That's
I just got back
awesome.
last night. So
You got
yeah.
to you got to tell me all about it. What type of retreat is this?
Well, it was my mentor, Brad Fazensky, his mother, they referred to her as Mama Ellie. She usually holds a retreat every year. I believe this was the 24th reunion that she was having. It's probably the fifth one that I've been to.
In
She
Vegas?
unfortunately, no, it's in Tennessee.
Okay. Where in
In
Tennessee?
Tennessee. Memphis.
Memphis. Okay, I'm familiar
Yeah.
with Nashville, so
Oh, okay. I'm not sure how far that is. I don't really know where I am when I'm out there, but
okay.
yeah, so it was awesome. Unfortunately, she passed away last year. So her son is following in her work, and we had a memorial for her this year, and so we got to hang out with all her students from all over the world, and just it was a really, really nice time, nice week of learning and emotions and all that good stuff.
Bittersweet,
So
I guess, right?
oh, it was wonderful. I got to meet so many people. Some of my students were able to come, and I had people there from Mexico, Canada, people I've never met before that, besides on Zoom. So I'm like, it was so nice to see people out of their Brady Bunch boxes. It was awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So now is this all psychics and mediums that get together?
Not necessarily. It's all spiritually minded people.
Energy
So
workers?
I'm sorry.
Energy workers?
Yeah, we had quite a few wonderful energy workers, and yeah, it's more for like the spiritual minded. So like we do like free readings, free healings, like everyone donates and volunteers their time to be there, so we just be together. It's usually just for her students, but we're gonna start expanding that a little bit. We have some things in the works, so we're
That's
excited.
really cool. And and
Yeah.
and, and any of your students kind of surprise you because you haven't seen them in a while, and all of a sudden you can't believe how awesome they got?
They always surprise me.
Really?
They always surprise me. I mean, I still work with my students on, online on Zoom and stuff, but it's just a different, like, if you're doing, there's no difference between getting a reading done on Zoom and getting a reading done
Same
in
thing,
person.
right?
There's really no, people think that has something to do with it, but it really doesn't.
Okay.
But just the dynamic, it's a preference. I love being around people. I love
Okay.
being in front of people. So just to sit and hug people and that, I either never hugged before or I haven't seen in a while. It's really cool. Yeah, my students always surprise me though. They teach me so much too. And I feel like I learn and grow with them. Every time I'm reiterating something that I'm teaching, I feel like when they have that aha moment, that's like the most amazing experience, not only for them, but as a teacher too, just to know like I know what it feels like when it clicks,
Yeah,
and to watch them go, I'm just like I'm in awe of them every time.
that
So
is so
it's
cool.
amazing. Yeah,
So
it's
take
so
me through it.
cool.
So you get down to Memphis, and is it a weekend? Is it a 1 day thing? What is it?
No, it's the longest trip I'm on for work all year. Actually, it starts Friday evening and it ends on Monday evening. But I actually got down there on Wednesday this past time, which is why I didn't do the show. Wednesday was
Right.
my birthday, so I was like, it was a nice birthday
Oh,
gift that
happy
I got
belated.
to.
Happy
Oh,
belated.
thank you, thank you. It's always the start of my new year. It's like
Okay.
everyone else is January. I'm like mine's September. So yeah, so it was nice. So I traveled down there Wednesday morning early and I got there by Wednesday afternoon, and we were getting, just everything ready for the reunion. So it was really cool, and it's nonstop, like from
We're
like
going.
11 o'clock in the morning till about 10:30 at night. It's like nonstop learning. So and
Oh,
just being around those people, and energy really plays such a big role. Like how you walk into a room and you could be like, all right, the energy in here is awesome,
yeah.
and that's how it is. Because think about having like 50, 60 like-minded people, all like in high vibration. Like you really feel like you're on a high all weekend. And the morning that I left on Tuesday morning, and you feel the difference in the hotel. Like you feel the shift in energy. Even the staff is like, we love when you guys come. Like, because
Uh,
they just like they feel it too. They feel it, and they're not even like in that, that realm or that line of work. And
yeah.
it's cool.
Now, what do you think that is? Because I know exactly what you mean. Like years ago, I used to go back to Western Kentucky, my football team in college, and it would go for like a homecoming weekend. So I get to see all the old coaches, all the old guys, and what you just described, leaving.
Mhm.
It's just this weird feeling. I can't really put my finger on it, but yes, it's you're missing the place. You're missing, I guess, obviously the people that you were around, but that time, and it's weirder than normal. Can you put your finger on what that feeling is?
It just brings you back to like old times. It doesn't matter, where you are. Like sometimes, just like with spirit, like certain smells, like you could smell grandma's apple pie, and it brings you back to that place. That's what spirit does for us. And so when you walk into, like for me, when I walked into that hotel, it smells like the hotel that I had all these wonderful experiences at. When you see people that you haven't seen in a long time, it brings back all those memories. I remember I went to a high school reunion, and um, I saw a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, like since school ended,
Uh-huh.
and she hugged me and she goes, "Oh my God," she goes, "it still smells like you." And I'm
Ah,
like, what? I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "You still like smell like your old perfume." Like she goes, "I always love the way you smell and you still smell like you," she said.
that's
And
so
she just like
interesting.
she got emotional. She's like, "You just brought back so many like fun times we had." And like, it just helps you, it helps you remember. It helps you remember.
Do you ever use any of that in your work? Like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
All the
I mean, you
time.
can zone in on a sense.
All the
What is your
time.
strongest?
Um, well, my strongest sense is really feeling and knowing. Like those are my
Intuition
strongest, but
type
a
thing.
lot of people smell and taste.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a smell
Okay.
guy.
Like that's something that you don't most people don't do as often, but some people it's like very strong for them. And there's reasons why, um but yeah, some people could pick up like they'll smell smoke, and like that's usually something for me. I'll be like, all right, this person was a smoker. There's they make me smell smoke. You can smell the difference between the cigar smoke and the cigarette
Yeah.
smoke, and then you might feel something in your lungs. You might know that they passed from lung cancer,
Oh,
or like it depends on how, like when you work, how you can kind of put it together in a reading. So yeah, so spirit works with you a lot like that. I know people who they're very like their smell is very strong for them, and they'll pick up a bag of chips in the grocery store and they'll be like, these are too salty. Like they can taste them,
wow.
like they can almost taste the salt, and know that they like can't use it. Like for me, if I look at something, I'll just know or feel that I shouldn't do that, but they'll be able to actually taste it or know it. Some people can't even put their pocketbooks on the floor because they taste the ground when they pick it up.
That
you
is
know
that is
some
so
people are very, very sensitive to it, but I know that the people who smell and taste are very strong, like in spirit. Their other clairs aren't as strong normally.
mhm.
And I notice that when I work with people in the classes, if I notice that they're not picking up on like their clairvoyance, or they're having a hard time seeing, not in like a beginner kind of way,
What do you
but
mean, like
like they're just really
remote viewing type thing?
um remote viewing is more like visual, and that's more like what you could see or feel about something somewhere where it is. So
Oh,
it's a little
okay,
different.
okay. All right, I got it wrong
But
then.
with the smelling and tasting, you could actually like, you could use that in your readings, and your everyday life. And
Uh-huh.
I noticed that a lot of people who smell and taste very prevalently, they're left-handed,
Really?
or they're ambidextrous. And and that's I don't know why it is what it is, but that's just my own thing that I've noticed from teaching, that a lot of people are left-handed. So when I see somebody really struggling, and I'm just like, by any chance are you left-handed? And they're like,
By any chance?
yes. And they're like, how'd you know? I'm like, it's not psychic, it's just something I've observed. Like,
Right.
so if somebody that's any advice for anybody who is left-handed or ambidextrous and has trouble with clairvoyance and like seeing and hearing and knowing and stuff like that,
Mm.
then they could probably utilize their other clairs and be like with their smell and taste, and they could probably get a lot further in a reading. I was in a class one day and this woman says to me, you know, well, we were in a class, there's probably about 50 people in the room. And she goes, I feel like I smell that there were 4 people on this side of the room that have had surgery in the past 30 days. And sure enough, 4 people on that side of the room
No
raised their hand.
way.
Nobody else on the other side had surgery, so it's just really cool. You just get like this like whiff out of nowhere.
That is
So it's
that
really
is
cool. And just a matter of feeling into it, interpreting it.
yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, there's some things that, it's just the universe, we just can't put a finger on it. But have you ever in one of your readings um smelt something that made you think of something completely different, but yet in the end of the reading it came back and had something to do with that person, like a song or something?
Um, like I think I understand what you're asking me. But yeah, when I do a reading, sometimes I will like smelling and tasting isn't as prevalent to me as all the other clairs, but I do get it
Yeah.
often. And sometimes it will bring me back to a memory that I have in my life because my spirit guides are trying to work with me and help me get the message across to the people the way I'm supposed to.
Oh, the
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah. So I just have to differentiate that though and say, okay, this isn't about me. They're giving this to me though, so I can relay a message. And then it's up to me as the medium to get the message
That's got to be
for
tough to know if it's
for
not
the people.
about you, and to decipher
Yeah.
whether it's something to do with you to get you
Yeah.
to communicate. That's got to
Right.
be
And
a
you know
weird
what?
line.
I know, what? A good exercise that I usually use, it's very quick. I tell if my student is having a hard time separating themselves, like their life, their mind from the reading. What's good to do is sit before a reading and just close your eyes for a minute and take a deep breath and be aware of everything that's on your mind, your aches, your pains, your shopping list, your to-do list, whatever's in your mind.
Mhm.
And you just be aware of whatever is yours. Okay, like any thoughts, ideas, emotions, whatever, just physically and emotionally be aware of what's yours and what's going on in your life. Then shift your energy where you focus on the other person or whoever you're looking to read or get into their energy, and you're going to see that you're making yourself conscious and aware that you're picking up on the other person, and all of a sudden everything shifts, like your aches and pains are gone, because when you make that shift from mind to heart, it's like yeah, it's amazing. And you'll be able to feel like any issues that they have going on. Like sometimes I shift and I'm like, oh my God, my tooth hurts. And it's like they have a toothache or
Oh
something
my
like that.
God.
So you could really like just kind of shift, like get in that place and shift into somebody else's energy. And the real trick of everything is just to really surrender and trust spirit that they have your back and they're gonna work with you. There's a cool story that just came to me. So this was a story of surrender, kind of for me, in a way. And one day, my mother-in-law, we just got bad news that she was sick, and she unfortunately passed almost 3 years ago, about 2.5 years ago. And we had to go to the doctor and we got bad news for her. And I was just, my energy was distraught.
Yeah.
And I had a group reading to do that night. And I was just like, I'm like, I said to my husband, I said, I'm like so upset. I'm like, should I cancel? Like, I never cancel my appointments and I
Right.
never do so. I usually work through it, but I was like, I don't know if I could jump from this. Like, I don't know if I
Yes.
could work through this. Like,
Yes, I
I
do.
was emotional. I was crying. I'm like, they're gonna think like I'm on something. I'm like, I can't stop crying. I'm like, my eyes are gonna be, and my husband was just like, well, he goes, usually you ask when you can't handle something, spirit usually has it cancel for you. Like they'll call me and cancel or something. It always happens like that. It's so cool. And he reminded me of that. And I said, Joe, I said, you're right. I said, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do the reading. I said, I'll get there like an hour early and I'll just try to like decompress before I walk in the house. So I planned on going, and my I had to go to the DMV though before I went. So like I had to do a bunch of things and I was just like, oh my God. I was like so upset.
To
That's a whole
add
nother
on
story.
top
I'm
of
not
it,
actually
yeah.
not even gonna get into that part of the story. But anyway, so I go to the reading and I go to leave my house now early and I stop at 7-Eleven to get a bottle of water
Mhm.
for myself.
Right.
And I'm about to get out of the house and I hear buy flowers. And I'm like, I forgot my wallet at home. I had like, what I had like just a small bill on me. I buy my water and I go to get in the car again and I hear buy
What
flowers.
kind of
And
voice?
I hear a man's voice.
What's a
Like I just
man's
heard a
voice?
man's voice say buy flowers. And usually I hear everything in my own voice. So I'm just like, I had like $8 on me left after I bought my water. And I said, all right, I said, but these flowers better be $8 or less because I don't have any more money. So I go in line on 7-Eleven and there's this one thing, bouquet of roses that kept catching my eye. And roses are never
Eight
$8.
bucks,
They're
right?
always more, even at 7-Eleven, they're more money.
Yeah.
So I went on and I went to go look and it said 7.99. And I'm like, are they kidding me? So I'm like, I don't know if it was mismarked or whatever. So I pick up the flowers and I had some change in my car. So I was able to pay with the tax and I was able to pay
Wow.
for the flowers. So I go in and I said, and I was like, all right, I'm like, I have these flowers now. I'm like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them, but I have them. So I drive to the house and I park around the corner and I'm just trying to like stop crying because I was really upset.
Right.
And I had a few notebooks in like this big tote bag in the back, and Spirit made me pull out a piece of paper and a pen, and I wrote something on it. I said, I forget what it was, but it was like to you, happy anniversary, love me. And I'm like, that sounds so weird, and I folded it up and I put it with the flowers and Spirit told me to bring it in the house. So I was like, all right, I was like, I wasn't trusting myself completely. So I'm like, I took the tote bag and I put the flowers in the tote bag so you couldn't see them. And I
Okay.
walk in the house and it turns out it was a mother and four of her children and maybe a couple other family members. And she lost her husband. And they were there really to communicate with her husband, but I don't know this walking into it.
Right.
So
Right.
so I'm doing the reading and it was a beautiful night because I was just in a place of like, whatever comes, like it's not me,
You
anything
all
that's not
worked up and
upsetting
you're
is
all
not me.
nervous.
Yeah, so I'm talking and then he brought up and when I got to the wife to talk to her, 'cause I was kind of going around the room and when I got to the wife, I said to her, I was like, he's really sorry that he's not going to be here for your first anniversary since he passed. And she goes, I know. She goes, my anniversary isn't I forget what it was. It was either 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks coming up. And she goes, it's the first year I'm not getting my roses.
Oh my God.
And I was like, and then because I was already, I usually don't cry during readings, but because I was so emotional, then I started bawling. And then I pulled out the roses, and then the whole room started crying. And
That
I
is
handed her the
unreal.
roses. I know, and she read the note, and she said he always wrote his cards, "Love me," like he never wrote his name. So the to you was probably just something I wrote then, but she wrote "Love me," and that was something that he always wrote to her. And she was like, she was she was crying. She was so happy and joyful. So it was like the first anniversary of his passing, first year that they were married, and they didn't have, and that he always got her roses, and he didn't get them for her this year. But this was his way of getting them for me.
Do you
I'm
remember how
getting them
many?
for him.
Do you remember how many roses were in the pack?
No, I don't remember.
If you
Whatever 7-Eleven sells.
Yeah, yeah. If you just break down that story, how
Yeah,
incredible that is. First of
yeah,
all, for it to be 7.99,
yeah.
uh, for first of all to even have roses,
Hmm.
because sometimes they don't, and
Yeah.
for you to hear that before you left, and then to hear that you had to write something down, and
Hmm.
then to find out that that was the
Yeah.
first time she didn't get the flower. That is an incredible story. I'm glad you shared that one. Thank you.
Yeah. I ignored it the first time. Like the first time I heard it, I was just like buy flowers, like whatever. I was just like in a place, and then I was getting in my car and I'm like, buy flowers. I'm like, all right, fine. So
All
like I went
right,
back
leave me
in and I was drawn,
alone.
I know. I'm like, I was drawn to the roses though, and they had one bouquet of roses left, and it's usually like all assorted flowers there. I've seen
Yeah.
roses there before, but I'm just like, oh my God. I was so glad, but see, like I was questioning myself because when we question the things that like we know we're hearing, because we don't want to come off be wrong, or we don't want to come
Yeah,
off
yeah,
like,
yeah, especially with
we're doing
something
something.
so
I like threw
sensitive.
them in my tote bag, just
Yeah.
in case, like, oh, here, but I think guess I had to, though, because it wouldn't have been the same sentiment if I walked in with them.
Right, right.
It would
That
have been
is
a little different, or maybe she
amazing.
would have filled in the story.
Yeah, man, that is
So
such a great story. Hey,
that was
but we're
fun.
running that. Thank you for sharing that one. We're running out of time, so let me get a couple questions in, okay? Because
Sure, yeah.
there's one. So, let's see. We got Diane from Cleveland. Is shame an example of emotional sickness?
Hmm. Shame is definitely an emotion that we feel because of something that has happened to us, or something that we've experienced that we carry with us. It's just something that is an emotional trauma that we need to work through, just like we would work through any emotion. It doesn't make anybody, it shouldn't make anyone feel less than or anything. It's just like any emotion. It's something that we just need to work through.
Yeah.
And everybody does that a little differently.
Okay.
Everybody could work through, like, I have, plenty of clients that have had sexual abuse in their life, for instance. And, and they, even though they are the victim in it, some people still feel shame or still don't live their life thoroughly the way they could, because of what happened to them, because they were made to feel like it was their fault. And
Right.
even those people know that it's not their fault, they could still feel like that and still carry it. So, there are a lot of different ways to work through that, just like you do any other inner work, and you work through anger or sadness, or anything like that. You do the same kind of work.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Good question. Okay, let's go. Scott in San Fran. Can you tell in a reading if something is blocking off your client sensor?
A client, what, I'm not sure what they mean by that, by client
Can you
censor.
can you tell in a reading if something is blocking off your client sensor?
Okay, I'm
Maybe
gonna
maybe you just
answer.
don't click with somebody. Maybe does that ever happen?
Oh, okay. All right. I'm going to answer in the way that I feel like it's
Oh, okay.
being
I'm sorry.
asked to
Yeah,
me. So I apologize if I'm answering the wrong question.
yeah. I wasn't sure
Um,
either.
there are two ways I can kind of take it, the way you just said it, and the way I was thinking too is, could you could you block yourself for communicating with, I guess that's the same thing as you were saying. Could, as a reader, can I block myself from reading someone in front of
Hmm.
me? I hate the word block. Like, I don't like to use that word, because I feel like spirit's always right there and willing to work with us, but we have our own things, like our own emotions and things that get in the way of us communicating with spirit, but spirit's always there to
Right.
communicate. So it always has to do with self. And we have to look at, what do you have going on? What's going on in your life right now? For someone, if I'm reading someone, for instance, um, and I'm having a hard time getting something for them, because I feel, I'll use the word blocking because that's what we use in the question. If I feel like the sitter is blocking me from reading, sometimes I could work through that. But sometimes people have such a wall up that, and a lot of times for me, when I can't get information for someone, I have to acknowledge trust issues
Mm,
in the person. And once I acknowledge that, I feel like the wall kind of comes down and spirit opens up and tells me, like, why they have trust issues, and all of that. There was one instance where I had a reading that I did, and it was for this young boy, and he was incredible. He was an incredible guy, and as a teenager, he was supporting his whole house.
uh,
And his father wasn't a very nice person, and there was a lot of things going on in that house. I did a reading based off of, like, everything going on in his life, and he was validating, and everything I was getting from spirit was right, but I didn't realize how horrible his life what was that he was experiencing, because he blocked his mom and his sister from feeling that pain, where he takes the brunt of it all
oh,
the time. And he really, like, emotionally, like, blocks other people from feeling his pain, and he does that so strongly and with such intention that I didn't feel any of his pain. Like when I was doing the reading form, I couldn't get past it. And when he told me about it, that's when everything like came rushing into
Made
me,
sense, yeah.
and I was able to, but I didn't see it initially. And usually I pick up on that stuff. But so I feel like some people that are like that, I get chills. Some people that are like that with such high, like I don't want to hurt anybody and I don't want to bother anybody with my problems.
Yeah.
Some people that are like that, you can't always like penetrate through that energy. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but that was the only circumstance I ever had where I was like, I really missed the pain.
Wow.
Like I gave a reading that made sense, but I missed that, that pain that was so there because he was so like, didn't want anyone else to feel it because, you
That's
know,
that's a very kind person.
so
Hey, another great show. Thank you so
mhm.
much. Thank you to everyone who
Thank
wrote
you.
in. Let me give you the last. Excuse me. Let me give you the last word. Okay.
Okay. So, anyone who wants to reach me or work with me, they can go to my website, danielleanatra.com. You can either make an appointment, sign up for any events. You check my website the end of this week. I'm going to have a few more events that I'm adding dates and times for, a lot of group readings coming up, and a lot of travel coming up. So if you're in certain areas, I'm going to be in certain states in the next month or two. So we'll work that out. And that's it.
All
So thank
right.
you so much for having me today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. And guys, we'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.